Let's get it. This is Life's Essential Ingredients with Jeff and Mike, where we hope to inform, inspire, and transform lives, one essential ingredient at a time. Welcome to the show. Pashito, we're back. And I know I'm a little bit off, but I'm so excited. And people that are listening, you don't know, but we record shows in kind of bunches. I got to go visit my Pasho early in the month, and then we haven't had a show forever, and we're already at the end of the month. And so anytime I get to see my Pasho and get to hang out, and then we have such an amazing guest, I'm getting excited. And so I just want to introduce very quickly so they can say hello to each other. Linden Wolfort is our guest, and I'm going to get into more on her in a little bit. But Linden, this is my good friend, my college roommate, my Pasho, Mike Sestich. You two can say hello to each other.
Woohoo, Mike, it is so nice to meet you today.
Meet me. Wow, I've never been meeted before. Linden, thank you so much for that. And thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here and to meet you and Jeff. This is great.
It is going to be awesome. And we definitely got to, before we even get into Linden, we got to let her know how she got here. And Christina Zanato, thank you so much for introducing us, and getting to meet Christina was amazing. And then researching you, Linden, just makes me feel so good about living. Because it's a rough time, and a lot of people are having challenges, as they should be, through this pandemic. And then to run across you and to witness your passion and desire to influence youth and make the world just a great place to be is inspiring. And so I thank you for that. But let's get into this, because I want to hear you talk more than me. And this intro is going to take a little bit. But first of all, where you can find Linden, her website, www.mermaidsinmotion.com, mermaidsinmotion.com. YouTube is Mermaids in Motion, and Instagram is @mermaidlinden. And you definitely got to check out her YouTube site. She's got over 50 million views and just incredible videos. And so about our guest, Linden is a pioneer of the exploding mermaid trend that shows no signs of slowing down, Pasho. No signs. With well over 50 million video views on her YouTube channel and her own top-selling signature line of monofins with body glove, Linden is arguably the most successful entrepreneurmaid in the world. Featured alongside ocean legend Dr. Sylvia Earle in ELLE magazine, interviewed on ABC's 2020 Good Morning America, BuzzFeed, The Today Show, Discovery Shark Week, Inside Edition, NPR, Bloomberg BusinessWeek, Huffington Post, Real Clear Life, Fast Company, Fortune, CNBC, Entertainment Weekly, and the Undersea Journal, just to name a few, but who's counting? Her story has compelled journalists from all over the world to cover her work in more than 30 languages and 80 countries. And we're just getting started, people. Over the course of her self-created career as a professional mermaid for the better part of 2 decades, Linden has spent the better part of her life truly living the life aquatic. I messed that up. The real life mermaid who has a passion for ocean edutainment and is sharing the magic of our blue planet with anyone who crosses her path. Linden travels the globe in search of unique underwater habitats, unusual creatures, and is addicted to the beauty and mystery of the big blue. Finding creative ways to share her love of the sea with others, she rarely swims with 2 legs. She prefers the aid of her 50-pound silicone prosthetic tail, which propels her through the water at remarkable speeds, or one of the monofins she designed for body glove. A skilled freediver. This is incredible, and we're definitely going to talk about this, Linden, but not right now. She can hold her breath for an astounding 5 minutes. Holy, we're going to come back to that again and again. I got a short little story on that. And dive to over 115 feet down and back up on a single breath of air. That is ridiculous. Linden has found herself surrounded by dozens of sharks at 50 feet down on a single breath with no mask and no air tanks in the Bahamas. Danced with manta rays at night in Hawaii. Been enveloped by millions of non-stinging golden jellyfish in Palau's infamous Jellyfish Lake. She has divided the minke whales and mola mola fish, if I'm saying those right, I'm sorry, in the pelagic open ocean, been dwarfed by aggregating whale sharks in the Caribbean, and mingled with pods of dolphins and sea lions in the Sea of Cortez. She's been encircled by 5 great white sharks while cage diving in Guadalupe, with a tail on, of course. And all of these experiences are captured on film and video, which Linden shares in the form of mini documentaries for children on her YouTube channel. She has done underwater modeling and pro in-water stunt dubbing for films, TV, and commercials, and has appeared as a mermaid in various feature films and music videos. We're not done yet. You're just incredible. Linden is on the board of directors of Reef Check Foundation, a nonprofit which monitors the health of our world's coral and rocky reef systems in an effort to conserve and protect them. And we're going to come back to that because I want you to give that a plug. I went to their website and doing incredible stuff. So thank you for doing that. She co-branded in 2012 with Body Glove International and designed her own signature line of child and adult swim products, which can be found in the world's largest retailers, including Walmart and Amazon. She is also a co-host for the Deeper Blue podcast, the official podcast of the world's most popular diving website. Linden has a Bachelor of Science in Film and Environmental Science from Emerson College, is a PADI Master Scuba Diver, ADA International Freediving Judge, and U.S. team coach with a 20-year background in ocean conservation and education through visual storytelling and live performance. Linden, welcome to the show.
Oh my goodness, Jeff. Do you need a glass of water or a nap? I'm so sorry.
A sip of tea right now. But do you need a glass of water or a nap or some caffeine? Because that was a mouthful, but that's the work you've been doing, which is a lot of work. And so, yeah, how does that make you feel to hear, wait a second, this guy's talking about me and I put in all that work?
It's funny because honestly, a part of me just felt like, who's this guy talking about? That sounds like someone I would like to meet. I honestly, over the years, having done so many crazy, amazing, out of the blue, pun intended things, to hear it all just laid out like that is pretty befuddling. There's a word. It's befuddling, Jeff.
Yeah, I actually, I think I have to let you know, we don't, after that intro, it's so long, we don't have time for any questions. So thank you. Show's over.
Well, thanks, guys. It's been really nice, and have a great day.
Oh man, well, seriously, this is going to be so fun, and I can't wait to hear about just how you've explored life and taken your dream to do what you do, and then to inspire millions of people all over the world. So yeah, I'm excited. But as always, thank you for tuning in to Life's Essential Ingredients. Yeah, we're just so excited to have Linden, and we start with a thought of the day. And you were an easy one to get, but I couldn't pick one because you're just so diverse and magical, I'll say. So I'm going to get into the first one by Roald Dahl. And above all, watch with glittering eyes the whole world around you, because the greatest secrets are always hidden in the most unlikely places. Those who don't believe in magic will never find it.
Oh, Jeff, I love that quote. I love that quote. And that is, you have captured me beautifully in that quote by Roald Dahl. And that's awesome. Thank you. That's awesome.
Right.
Yes.
I'm glad we're one for one, but I couldn't. You just had so much, and yeah, I couldn't just have one. So this one is by Charles de Lint. And when you are touched by magic, Nothing's ever quite the same again. What really makes me sad is all those people who never have the chance to know that touch. They're too busy, or they just don't hold with make-believe. So they shut the door without really knowing it was there to be open in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to let you talk about that.
Wow. Being an idealist and an optimist as well, I prefer the first quote only because it is just how I hope to see the world myself and hope everyone else will too. And it I think I almost see it as a challenge when I meet people who kind of subscribe to the latter, who don't even see the door that can be open to experience and see and witness the magic that is in every single nook and cranny on our planet, especially in nature. Yeah, I see it almost as a challenge to guide them to the door and say, "Hey, let's take a doorbell moment here and open this, shall we?" Because there's so much to be joyful about and grateful for, and to learn and to experience and to grow from and to share. So I quote number one, yes. And quote number two also, yes. But if I had to pick one, I would go with the first.
Definitely. And that's why I put that one first. But I loved how you were looking at this as a challenge, because that kind of is how I interpreted that for you. And it leads me to my first question, which is just why we're so good and we're already on the same page, is why do we need to believe in magic? And when I say magic, that's you know, for the listeners, of just taking this idea and this belief and bringing it to life for young people. But why do we need to believe in that magic now more than any time in our history, which ties back into that second quote. But yeah, why do we need that?
Well, Jeff, I think that you ask an excellent question. And I think that believing in magic is, it's inherent for me. It's something that has always just been omnipresent. And I always see beauty in the world, and namely through nature. And I think that right now, and interestingly, here we are on this amazing technological format that permits us to not only speak and meet each other, which otherwise wouldn't be possible at this moment without driving very far, or flying, who knows, or swimming in my case, but it enables us to share messages around the world effortlessly and inexpensively with a wide audience, which is great. But to me, the most magical thing on earth is nature. The most beautiful things in the world are already here on the planet before we built mechanical things and created all sorts of constructs and everything that humans have created on the planet. I think that nature, namely plants, animals, the stars, everything is so beautiful. And that is, to me, the most magical thing. You know, there are people who say, "Oh my gosh, you swim and mermaid and perform with and for celebrities. Don't you get excited and starstruck?" And the answer is that not usually, no, because they're just people like you and me. They just happen to be known by more people. To me, something that I get starstruck by is a creature I've never seen in person before, or a bug that I've heard about that I think is really neat that I've never witnessed in the wild. To me, those are magic moments of awe and delight. And so I think that now more than ever, especially with so many people being sequestered away in their homes, many people in cities and urban environments or places that they don't necessarily, or did not for a long time, have access to the outdoors and a natural environment, not just an urban concrete jungle, but someplace where they can walk and put their bare feet in the grass or put their feet on the sand or in the water. And that, to me, is the most recharging, rejuvenating, refreshing experience, is to go into nature and connect with nature and disconnect from all of the technologies that we've created in our daily lives.
I'll just say amen. Right. Yeah, no, I love everything that you said. And I think we're primed for that. You know, I think your message is just I think people are ready to hear that and ready to take action towards getting out there and realizing that we have to use these challenges we've been going through with all the challenges, in our country and worldwide to reboot, get back to our roots, and get out into nature, and realize there's got to be a different way to do this thing called life. And so, I'm a big believer in that. And one of the highlights, just a short story of what you're taking me somewhere in my head, but I told you off air, I've been a nurse for 29 years. I'm not working anymore other than doing this stuff. That's another story. But one of the highlights of my career, I started, and I worked on a community college campus, and I started this kind of morning/afternoon space under these redwood trees that I called 4 chairs around our C4 stuff. And there was more than 4 chairs, but for some weird reason, I called it 4 chairs. But there was one space where there was one chair where you would kind of just sit and get into nature and kind of talk to yourself and listen to the sounds and just kind of breathe and meditate. There was another space that had 2 chairs where you would connect with someone. There was another space that had 3 chairs where you would offer feedback to each other. And then there was another space that had 4 chairs that allowed you to kind of celebrate kind of what's going on in your life. And it was amazing. It just organic, where the students would come and just sit where they needed to sit in nature underneath these redwood trees. And the redwood tree is my most favorite tree. I don't know if you know much about redwood trees. They're not in the ocean, but they're amazing. They can live for over 2,000 years, grow over 350 feet in height, weigh over 2 tons, all with their root system only going 10 feet deep. And then in order for them to support themselves, their roots kind of intertwine. And I just see that that's where we are right now, of just being in that space to let's just intertwine our roots to be there to support each other through these difficult times and then get reconnected to the earth and everything that you're doing. So again, thank you for doing that work.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love the story of the 4 chairs, and that sounds like a really neat place to be able to go. Your students were very lucky.
Yes, I was so fortunate, but we're not talking about any luck now. I got I'm missing my Pasho's cue. He got me late. So this is our cue for when he's got something that he's just going to fall out of the chair. He'll touch his glasses. So if you see me miss that, Linden, because sometimes I get all excited, and then he'll be pulling them off. It'll start hitting his head and stuff. Just say, hey, Jeff, Mike wants to say something, because I get a little bit riled up. So Pasho.
Hey, Jeff, Mike wants to say something. He touched his glasses about 15 times. Mike, what's happening?
Finally, thank you for telling him. Usually it takes about a good 15 minutes to realize it. Linda, I appreciate that. I got one quick question for you. And I just sitting here trying to figure it out, because maybe I'm one also, but when did you know you were a mermaid?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I dreamed of being a mermaid from the time I was very little, and I saw mermaids in storybooks, on films, in videos, and of course, I'm a child of the 80s. So Splash and the Little Mermaid were very prolifically just popular, and everybody was watching those movies. And I know every single word to The Little Mermaid, every single lyric, every song, every word, every line of the whole film. Practically, I could sit verbatim, just rattle it off to you. And just the idea of being able to be underwater and stay underwater for a long time was just enchanting to me. So the moment that I truly felt like a mermaid for the first time is very different from the moment that I realized I would like to be a mermaid, which was probably in a single digit era. But the moment I felt like a mermaid the first time was when I tried on my first monofin, and that happened in Grand Cayman. And there was a woman, still a woman, who is named Mandy Ray Cruikshank from Canada, and she is a world champion freediver. And I was filming a documentary. I was one of the camera people for a documentary that was being filmed about these freedivers in the Cayman Islands. And they had a competition. They were using these fins, and it was so beautiful to watch them. And I wanted so badly to try a fin on. And it turned out that Mandy and I shared the same shoe size, and we got to talking, and I kind of very hesitantly asked, like, hey, can I try your monofin maybe after you're done setting your world record today? And she said yes. And to my delight, I got to try on this fin, and I just flew through the water. It was effortless because there's a very specific movement to properly and rapidly move through the water with a monofin, which is a single blade with 2 foot pockets next to each other that are attached. So you swim like a mermaid or a dolphin. And when that moment transpired, that I just shot through the water so rapidly and easily, I thought, oh, what if I were a mermaid? What if I, instead of just making wildlife documentaries that are talking heads and footage or just voiceovers and footage like everyone else does, I want to make documentaries that resonate with children. I want to make something that's fun to watch, interesting, incorporates magic, and is memorable. And that was the key. That was the key. And that's how it happened.
That's a crazy story. And for you to have the courage to ask to borrow that, and then to get in there and just get after it. And then that's what started one of the things that led you to where you are now. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Well, I'm a firm believer in, if you guarantee your answer is no unless you ask. And so sometimes it takes me a minute to ask because I'm a very polite person, or I try to be. I'm very thoughtful and respectful of people's belongings and energy, wish, time, feelings, everything. And the timing was just right. And she was very happy to let me try her fin, which was the coolest thing.
That is cool. And then the fin you have now, is it something similar, or is it totally different of what you use?
Well, so meaning my cost, like my mermaid tail costumes?
Yeah. Because can you get after? I know I've seen your videos and you're swimming obviously in them, but is that one? Can you go as fast in that as some of your other products and other things that you have?
Oh, my silicone tail is the most powerful swimming appendage that I have.
Wow.
It is, it sounds like it would be cumbersome because it is so I have several tails actually now. I have a lot of tails and a lot of fins. So I was like, which one, Jeff? There's so many. But the tail 1.0, as I call it, which was my very first silicone tail, which I actually just spoke this morning to my friend Alan Holt, who I'm still very close friends with, who is the special effects artist that in a sea star aligning moment came into my life and was there to help me make tail 1.0, which just what an experience. 7 months,
Wow.
thousands of dollars, blood, sweat, tears, nightmares, feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, followed by complete elation and joy and everything in between. And that tail, we made a fiberglass mold of my legs, created a replica of my legs, took 30 pounds of clay and built and hand sculpted every scale and every single part of that tail that we wanted it to look like, smoothed it out, and then did another fiberglass and Bondo mold around it, around the clay, created a negative of it, removed all the clay, and then injected silicone into the space between my fake legs and the negative mold of the scales and the tail we'd sculpted, and created tail 1.0. That's the short way of describing what we did. It was not without its challenges. It was incredibly scary, expensive, time consuming, and a great learning experience beyond anything I could have dreamed it would be when I embarked upon it with Alan. And I will forever be grateful for his commitment to make that tail into what I had a very tall order of, which was a resilient, beautiful, functional tail that looked realistic and could truly propel me through the water with great speed and agility. And that it does. So yes, That is, so tail 1.0 was about 35 pounds of silicone. And we had originally lined the inside of it with neoprene, which is wetsuit material. But then to my dismay, when I went into the ocean with that tail, it was very positively buoyant, or for those of you non-ocean people, very floaty. And to the point where it was very challenging for me to descend and stay down, hanging out with sharks or fish or on a coral reef or whatever I wanted to do, because it would just cork me up toward the surface. So I actually had to do crazy things like strap lead weights with duct tape in between my thighs, inside of the tail, to neutrally kind of make myself buoyant so that I wouldn't sink or float. I would just be neutral, and it was much easier to move through the water column. I learned a lot about the physics of the materials we were using, the buoyancy, and also the comfort inside of the tail. There's so many things. So there is a competition monofin inside of both tail 1.0 and now tail 2.0. Tail 2.0, we replaced that neoprene lining inside with silicone because we didn't want that positively buoyant nature to happen in tail 2.0. And that made the tail even heavier, and it is 50 pounds. Outside of the water, neutral in the water. Yeah.
What? Again, I'm just taken back, and obviously, that making that tail didn't happen overnight. But just to sit here and not know you, and to listen to your story, and I think it's such a great story to share, because we want things. We have a question and we turn to something quickly to get the answer, and
Google, usually Google.
Yeah.
Or Siri.
Yeah. And I think we're losing a big part of who we are by not acknowledging the process so often in what it takes to do what you have to do. So again, in researching you, yeah, man, this lady's incredible. Got over 50 million views. Oh man, life must be great, and she's got her own company selling these monofins and gets to travel the world. But I don't think we share enough of all the struggles and the self-doubt and even the finances that I'm sure, you didn't have nothing going on at that time, and you're making these movies for somebody else probably, and then now you're going out on your own, and you're like, hey, I'm all in with this. I have to figure this out and make it work. And just to hear you describe that process gives me goosebumps, and then to see the success that you have, knowing that didn't come overnight, and sure hope that some of our listeners can really make this connection to, just keep working through the process. And if you have sound fundamental processes and have a good team and surround yourself with people that can give you good feedback, good things will happen. But trust the process. And we just want quick solutions too often. Thank you so much for sharing that. But you talk about free diving and everything else. And unfortunately for me, I have a big aneurysm on my heart, and I had an MRI right on my aortic root. And every year I have to get an MRI. And yesterday was my day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so when you have an MRI of your heart, the machine is in there because you want your heart kind of up a little bit. So they tell you to take a breath and breathe. Hold your breath. It's 3 hours long. And so there was one point where they said, hey, okay, Jeff, this is going to be 40 seconds. And if you can't hold your breath that long, just slowly exhale. Don't exhale all the way out. And there was other one that was 26 seconds, which was the second longest. I was like, oh man, this is a piece of cake. And so the 26-second one was like, all right, come on. Challenge me in my head. Because I don't know if you ever had an MRI, but it's a little bit of a daunting experience when you're in there for so long. But the 40-second one got me. I probably lasted maybe 30 something seconds, in the low 30s. But listeners, Linden can hold her breath for over 5 minutes. How do you do that?
Well, first of all, Jeff, congratulations on getting through your MRI and for doing the breath holds you did do. When you're in a stressful scenario, it's very challenging to hold your breath, and our heart rates naturally do want to increase. So your body starts metabolizing oxygen much more rapidly than it would if you were just hanging out, chilling, relaxed, like watching TV, not really thinking about things. So I wish they'd started you off with the 26-second breath hold first and then worked you up to the 40-second, because your static breath hold, as we call it, where you're not moving, you're just laying still and holding your breath, not expending any energy physically, other than maybe your brain thinking too much, it naturally increases each time you do a breath hold voluntarily. So I wish they'd worked you up to the 40-second one. They did it the opposite, the way that would have physiologically benefited you. However, how did I get to a over 5-minute breath hold? It took some time. Part of it is just being comfortable in the water. I've always been a water baby. My parents were competitive swimmers. My sister and I were on swim team. We were thrown in the pool before we could walk. So the water is just an amniotic, blissful place for me. It is a happy place where I feel very at ease. So when I heard about the sport of freediving for the first time in the early 2000s, I just thought it was the coolest thing. I never had known that this existed as a sport. And I thought, oh my gosh, here my whole life, I've never really considered myself to be an athlete other than maybe swimming, which, I loved, but it's not like I was a world-class swimmer by any means. But to learn about this sport where people hold their breath and dive as deep as they can or as far in distance as they can underwater in a swimming pool or in the ocean felt like my speed. Because like many kids, especially kids on swim team, I would challenge myself as a youngster to see how far I could swim in the 25-meter swimming pool. And I easily could do 25 meters underwater without a breath. And so when I learned about freediving, I thought, this is my thing. I've got to try this out. So when I took my first freediving course with Performance Freediving International, I remember wondering, how long is my breath hold going to be? And I easily did 3 minutes in the first class. So, but that was with coaching and training. That was with guidance and very special techniques that they use to calm you and to do a breathe up, as it's called. And so if you have proper guidance and coaching, you would be amazed at your propensity for breath hold. Both of you, Jeff and Mike, you are clearly both physically fit, and you seem to, oh, don't you shake your head. I see you over there. You look slender and fit. Take the compliment. I think that you each easily have 3 minutes in you if you had the right coaching right now, today. And it's a really neat thing to be able to do that, because not only does it show you how much you are physically capable of, even more, it shows you what you are psychologically capable of. Yes. So it took me, let's see, I think I first hit 5 minutes. It was probably back in 2008 was my first, I reached 5 minutes static. And that's just, that's not actively swimming. That's me floating in the water, face down, relaxed in a wetsuit, just positively buoyant on the surface, nice and comfortable. My temperature is warm. I'm relaxed, and I'm being, I'm safety. There's always a safety diver there who's checking and tapping, and you give little indicator finger signals so they know that you are still okay, because you're face down in the water with a mask on, generally speaking, or not, depending on how you're doing your training. But it's an incredible exercise to merge the physical and psychological parts of your being.
Yeah, I don't know about being physically fit. I was proud of Jeff for doing 26 seconds. I don't know if I have that. But Linden, can he get a hold of you to train for the next MRI?
Well.
He might hold his breath the whole time. We don't know.
Yeah, you're going to go in there and you're going to come out hypoxic.
Oh,
you're
man.
lacking oxygen.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, Jeff, why are your lips turning blue? We see you in the monitor. You don't look so good.
Yeah, but I want to get back to your free dive, because I don't know that much about it. I wish I could remember. I don't know why I didn't make the connection for this episode, but I remember watching something on Netflix or something, but some competition, and it's dangerous.
It's actually not very dangerous. The only dangerous thing is when you don't have safety divers around you and you go beyond your capable, comfortable physical and emotional and psychological limits. And so, true athletes who are tuned into their bodies and people who practice safe free diving, which is you always use the buddy system, just like scuba diving, you always have a buddy. And this buddy needs to be someone you trust your life with, and vice versa. Everyone has training that is a safety protocol training that we understand and recognize the signs of a shallow water blackout, LMC, also known as loss of motor control, things that happen if you become hypoxic or start to basically need to breathe.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's actually very safe.
Yeah, and this show though is so they had a partner go down for a little bit, and then the person kept going and going and going, yeah, it was there was just and it was everything's always dramatized on TV, but yeah, man, let's change it up into some exciting things. I watched this video of you, and you made a lot of them, so I don't mean to put you on the spot. But my question is, if you can remember, describe the feeling of making Lauren's wish come true. That was such a touching, whole video was amazing. But yeah, tell me about that.
Yes. So for the listeners or viewers out there, I was contacted by a charity that's very much like the Make-A-Wish Foundation here in the US and around the world, but this is called the Rays of Sunshine Children's Charity in the United Kingdom. And they reached out and said, hey, Mermaid Linden, would you want to come and do a wish for a little girl here in Scotland who is suffering from an illness called SGS, which is short gut syndrome, where basically she is unable to absorb nutrients into her body. Like we all have these miles of intestines, and she has a short gut. So she just doesn't have the real estate, so to speak, to absorb the nutrients. So anyway, this very sweet, beautiful, lovely, joyous little girl, Lauren, was receiving her wish through the Rays of Sunshine Children's Charity. And it was also coincidentally the 4,000th wish of this foundation. And so they wanted to do something very special. And this little girl, Lauren, had requested that she really wanted to meet a mermaid. So they looked far and wide, and somehow magically, and I'm so glad they found me, because these are my favorite things to do. I love doing Make-A-Wish because really no one in the world is more deserving of magic, beauty, and joy than a child who has not been alive for a very long time compared to us. And they've been suffering for a lot of that time. And it's been scary for them, and they don't understand. They might not understand what the disease or the implications of it are, or even understand mortality. So to be able to deliver a wish, not just to that child, but just in tandem, their family and their loved ones, because when that child feels good and is happy, their family is. And I now know this on a level that is beyond what I ever could have comprehended, as my own niece has been battling leukemia for the past 6 years. And she is about to go and get a bone marrow transplant in the next several weeks. So I understand how these families feel. And so this little girl, Lauren, wanted to meet a mermaid. And so they flew me to Scotland. Actually, I swam to Scotland. It was a long journey, but I made it. And
You went fast.
I swam to Scotland, and we ultimately were going to do this in an aquarium, because there's a beautiful aquarium that is on the Loch Lomond shores, and it is called the Sea Life Aquarium. And I went and toured the aquarium, and they said, okay, so here's the tank we're thinking we'll put you in. I'm like, wow, that looks really cold. That looks like local flora and fauna in that tank. And then they said, well, yes, it is. And then I looked out the window, the giant window. I said, well, there's a loch right there. And I feel like a real mermaid would come out of the loch, not actually be in this little tank. What do you guys think about me just swimming out of the water, since this is a cold tank anyway, and the real loch is here, and I'm a free diver, I'm willing to do it. And they thought I was crazy, of course. And I said, just get me a safety out in a boat out in the water, and there's a jetty out there. I can get in the tail, and I can swim around that jetty. And as she's approaching the shoreline, I can swim from out of the water and pull up on the shore. And they thought I was nuts, but they said, "Oh my gosh, if you're willing to do this, we're going to facilitate it." So they did. And it was raining, it was cold, it was cloudy, and I kid you not, the clouds parted. It was not raining. It wasn't sunny, but it wasn't horrible. Everything that could have worked out did. The sea stars aligned once again for this little girl and for her wish. And the water was freezing, the air was freezing, it was cold, but it was very painful when I got in the water, frankly. I think the water was in the upper 40s, and I didn't really know how I would feel when I got in that water. I had not gone in water that cold in just my tail. Obviously, I have no I didn't have a wetsuit on or anything, and the tail is not insulating from the waist up. So I had on a pair of seashells and this silicone tail, and and it's anyway, so I got into the water, and it felt like someone was stabbing me with a million knives, all where the water was touching my body. And I thought, okay, I got to make my hair wet. I got this. And I made it happen. And I saw her little limousine pulling up. She walked to the shoreline. I swam up onto the shore. And as soon as my eyes met her eyes and she walked over and her face just lit up, I forgot all about the temperature of the water. I forgot about the discomfort I was feeling. And I was so present with her, because kids have such presence. They have not learned the art of distraction. They are so in tune with where they are, who they're with, what they're doing, and what they're seeing. And at that moment with Lauren, I just forgot the world existed other than with her right there. And she was so sweet. She was so happy. We talked. She asked me questions. I gave her some gifts and a beautiful little necklace, and she was just over the moon. And so was I. It changed my life. And every wish does. Every child that I get to interact with changes my life. And I feel like it's just the most fulfilling, heart-rendering, reciprocal experience of love that you can possibly exchange. And so, yes, it was amazing. 20 minutes with Lauren on the shores of Loch Lomond, and really hard not to cry.
Yeah, no, I've got goosebumps about the whole time that you're sharing that story and that video. I'm so glad I asked you that question, because I really appreciated the video before, but now I'm going to watch it again, especially after meeting you and just hearing some of the background story, and then how cold you were, and then how, things opened up, and just the timing was just incredible to make that moment happen and transform both of your lives. And man, what a gift you have to be able to bring that magic and belief to people all over the world. I mean, that's got to feel so good.
It does. There's nothing like it. I mean, I'm sitting here. I always cry when I think of that.
Yeah.
It's so touching.
Yeah.
I feel so lucky. I'm so lucky to be able to do this, and that I feel like the world embraced my dream. I couldn't be doing this if people didn't respond to it, or didn't enjoy it, or want to participate in it in some way, or watch. So I'm so grateful that people do, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. I couldn't. So thank goodness.
Yeah, I'm 51. My Pasha's 51, and I'm a believer in you and what you're doing. And yeah, the world just needs what you're doing, and in a flip to get us going, so we don't have these tears of joy. The world needs your knowledge on how to protect it. If you could teach, somebody that just anything about protecting our environment, I'll make it a broad question. Teach them, and then encourage them to take some sort of action around that. Because I don't mean to sound bad, I'll just speak for myself, but I wouldn't say that I was completely knowledgeable about the environment, especially growing up. You're busy doing your stuff, playing basketball, and that's somebody else's problem. But definitely this pandemic, we should realize, hey, the environment is everybody's problem. And we all need to take some sort of ownership in it. So give us what you feel is truly most important for myself and Mike to hear and our listeners about protecting our environment, and perhaps some actions that we can take to make this a world we're all proud of and can pass on to future generations.
You ask the most important question. And as someone who has been to a lot of places around the world, but certainly not as many as I would like. I have a lot more on my list, but I have seen some beautiful places, some pristine, seemingly untouched, just environments, both above and under the water, that just, oh gosh, beautiful, beautiful, stunning places. And there are a lot of people who are conservationists, and everyone has their different methods for sharing conservation and actions for it. And people have different ways of receiving it and choosing to receive it. I as I'm sure you can imagine at this point through the conversation, I like sharing the beauty that still exists to show people what we can protect and what's still here. Doom and gloom has its time and place. It does. I'm not a big fan of it. It makes me feel disparaged and hopeless sometimes. And oh my gosh, this is insurmountable. When in fact, everything is repairable, I do believe, within reason, of course. If something goes extinct, aside from messing with genes and somehow in a laboratory creating something from which we only have a small cell remaining or a bit of DNA to reproduce a species or a plant or an animal, and what we're developing is incredible. But on a level of you and me, what can we do? How do we impact the ocean? I grew up far away from the ocean. I was in landlocked Amish country, Pennsylvania. I did not have ready access to our oceans. And that's part of why I found them to be so enchanting and mysterious and such a magnetism, because it was this kind of almost forbidden fruit to me that was not accessible. And it looked so beautiful. There are a lot of things we can do in our daily lives to impact the environment, not just the ocean, in a positive way. A really big one is just to stop using plastic as much as we can, and to reuse things and keep technologies as long as we can. The simple things you hear about every day that sound overdone, but carrying your own cutlery or silverware or bamboo ware with you. Women, it's easier. I think we have purses and we always carry stuff with us. And so it's very easy for me to chuck my little reusable utensils in my purse, and I just wrap them in a napkin when I'm done. They go back in my purse, and when I come home, I wash them and I put them back in my purse again. I also have the little teeny bags that fold into a little teeny bag, and I, in my little tiny purse, it's not big. I don't have one of those ginormous suitcase purses that some women like to carry around. I'm not a fan of having a shoulder that's very out of balance. I have these little bags that weigh next to nothing, and I can carry all of my groceries in all these little bags that fit inside of my purse. And I just make a ritual, and it becomes a habit. You make a ritual, it becomes habitual. You bring your reusable products with you, you keep them in the car, you have some in your bag, and lo and behold, you never need grocery store bags anymore. You don't need that plastic. You don't need to use the plastic straws and the spoons and forks and knives that you get when you do takeout. You can, and a lot of laws are being passed now where you can actually bring your own containers and carry out or take out in your own containers. So that is a huge, yet tiny thing. It's a tiny shift in your habits that can make a huge difference in the impact of single-use plastics, which, as we know, are a big problem. Another one that is becoming more and more apparent, and I'm a big believer in you know what your body wants and needs, and you should consume that, but try to do it responsibly. I'm not saying everyone in the world should go seafood free or vegan. I'm not a vegan, but I'm pretty darn close to being mostly vegetarian. And I go through phases of veganism. And it makes me feel wonderful when I do that, because I know the impact, the positive impact that cutting down on meat products and animal products has on our planet. I love Sir David Attenborough, love him. He just turned 95, and he is an incredible example of someone who has seen the world transform. There's a documentary on Netflix that he released last year, and everyone should watch it. It's absolutely amazing. And his number one call to action is to decrease the amount of meat and animal products that we consume in order to help save our planet. There's so many reasons for it. So many reasons for it. So I'm not perfect. I'm not. And I know that none of us are. But if we're conscious of, hey, I don't have to get a burger, I can get a salad. Oh, I can actually have this unburger or this Beyond Burger or something that is a replacement for it that actually tastes pretty darn good and actually looks like a burger, instead of necessarily going for beef or produce, or rather just meat products from animals, body products from animals that can cause all kinds of issues in farming. So those are the big ones, really.
Oof, wow. Okay. First, I gotta say, when you're talking about the little girl, Lauren, and how you got in the cold water, my water heater, it went out once. I couldn't even take a cold shower for like a week. I couldn't do it. So, man, that's so impressive you actually did that. But to get on it, and to all the listeners out there, I think this is one of those episodes that we're doing that you have to watch this, not just listen to watch it. Linden, you're so genuine and your energy is off the charts just looking at you. So I appreciate that. And I think all the listeners should watch this one. Get on the YouTube and watch it on the line. It's great. But my question is, I love the ocean. I was watching old documentaries last night with the dolphins and the bait balls and the birds diving in and all that. Love how that all works. And my Pasho here, he's like a beach guy. He likes everything on top of the water right there. He likes being on the beach and seeing the waves, but he doesn't really appreciate everything that's underneath the waves in the ocean. And besides a mermaid, obviously, which would be the biggest attraction ever for kids, adults, everyone, what is something or what is an animal or anything about the ocean that that you like to bring up to help people get to fall in love with what's in the ocean?
Oh gosh, where do I even begin? I love so many animals in the ocean, Mike. There are creatures that look otherworldly. There are animals discovered every time we send a submarine down into the Mariana Trench. We find species on our planet that we've never known existed ever before all the time. In our oceans, I have to say, one of the most awe-inspiring creatures that I have experienced is a whale shark. It is the largest fish in the sea because sharks are fish and they are cartilaginous creatures, meaning they have cartilage, not bones. But whale sharks they look like a beautiful animal that someone spilled the constellations of stars upon. And they are so enormous that it is hard to comprehend them until you see one in the water in person. And I got to do that in Mexico off the coast of Isla Mujeres, the island of women. And I remember the first time I saw one, I dreamed of it my many, many years of my life. And from the first time I knew they existed, I thought, oh, I need to see one of these. And when I saw it, once again, it was just my heart is a flutter. I got into the ocean at first and had to put a mask on because I had to see it clearly before I took off the mask to film as my mermaid self. Without a mask, I can't, everything's blurry, of course. So I put on my mask and I got in the ocean. And it was just unreal to see this gargantuan creature. One of the whale sharks I swam next to, I believe, was around 40 feet long, and just this enormous mass of animal in the water and moving so quickly and seemingly effortlessly, just its tail just swooping in what appeared to be slow motion. And yet I am kicking my tail as hard as I can to keep up with this animal in that water space. And my heart was pounding because I was so excited. So holding my breath was very challenging because I'm kicking really hard and my heart is pounding with excitement. And I'm little tears of joy and my mask, disbelief. Whale sharks are gentle giants. They don't have teeth. They're filter feeders, much like a whale, which is why they're called the whale shark. So even though they are a shark, they really resemble more of a whale in the way that they move through the water. So do basking sharks. They're the second largest fish in the world, the basking shark, but also filter feeders that just open their big mouths and scoop up all the little plankton and microorganisms on the surface of the water and in the water column. So whale sharks, they're a great one because they seem scary at first glance and you think, oh, I'm horrified of this giant creature in the water. And then you see it has this little eye and it's looking at you and it sees you and it's beautiful. And it's a filter feeder. It's a gentle giant. It would never harm you.
That's awesome. Real quick, because I want to be mindful of your time. And man, this hour flew by. Real quick question: have you gone to visit Christina and experienced? If you've done that, give us a quick recap on how that feels to be in her world.
First of all, Christina, thank you for recommending and referring me to this show because Jeff and Mike are awesome and this is so cool. Christina's amazing. Christina has a way of communicating with Caribbean reef sharks and many animals, really, quite honestly. How she is in tune with the Caribbean reef sharks down in the Bahamas is just an amazing sight to behold. I was welcomed into her world. Gosh, I think it was 11 or 12 years ago now is the first time I went and got to dive with her sharks. And I was doing a mermaid shoot. And so I didn't know exactly how the animals would respond to me being in a tail. And they were scared at first. They were very kind of persnickety about it because I was bigger than some of them. Sharks go by a hierarchy of size. And in the tail, I'm about 10 feet long. And when I extend my arms out in front of me, I'm pretty big. So they were like, oh, we don't know what that is. It's not breathing bubbles. It's gold. We don't understand. And they were a little scared. So we had trouble getting the sharks in the frame for the photographs and the videos that we were trying to capture. But Christina, oh my goodness gracious, this incredible soul sits down on the bottom of the seafloor and she's wearing a chainmail shark suit so that if there is perhaps a chance bite, it does not hurt her, injure her. And she dances with these sharks. They know her, they recognize her, they come around and she puts them into tonic immobility, which means they are in a kind of hypnotic state and they go to sleep on her lap as she rubs their nose and their dorsal fin. And I got to experience and witness this and pet a shark as she was putting it into tonic immobility. And to experience that was really just very profound because here you have this, what is known as an apex predator, and it's like a baby coddled, sitting willingly in her lap. It's just incredible.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, she'll be coming on. We've actually recorded her episode, just hasn't dropped yet. And yeah, I'm excited to share that. I do want to give you a quick second because time just flew by. But about reef,
I think it swam by.
About your nonprofit, and so tell everybody about that and where they can go to learn more about that and the amazing work that you're doing with that organization.
Thank you for bringing up Reef Check Foundation. So I've been working with Reef Check Foundation since 2012, I think. I'm now actually the co-chair of the Reef Check Foundation, and it is an organization that has been basically counting fish and coral and keystone species on coral and rocky reefs around our planet for over 20 years. We have the largest collection of data on our reef systems around the planet than anyone else has. And so we go time after time to the same reefs and do transect lines. Basically, we create a space on the ocean floor with little ropes, a square or a triangle or a quadrant, and go and count everything that's in that area. And we do this repeatedly over time, and we see the changes that occur in the species, maybe an increase or a decrease. And then we try to say, why is this happening? Why are these species changing? Why are we losing numbers? Or why are we seeing a giant increase in other types of animals or marine algae, for example, or corals? And that data then is very valuable in helping us create marine protected areas, or MPAs, where no fishing is permitted, or there are sometimes different stipulations for MPAs, different rules. But we take that and provide it for free. You can see everything at reefcheck.org. And we are worldwide in many countries and territories around the globe. And I'm so proud to be part of this organization. It's a wonderful group of volunteer citizen scientists who collect this data around the planet.
Wow. Yeah, thank you so much for doing that amongst all the other stuff that you were doing. We are on the home stretch. What is one question you're like, doggone it, Jeff, you didn't ask me this, and I really wanted to share this with listeners. Is there anything that we've missed that you're just like, I got to get this out?
Oh my goodness. I have loved every question you've asked. This has been a really enjoyable conversation. I think that what people should ask themselves, maybe what I'd love to leave the listeners and viewers with, is, because the essential ingredient that I have always followed in my life, and that's what this show is about, is following my heart. The essential ingredient that has been a common thread through every single experience, achievement, question I've asked, answer I've received, has been following my heart and putting on my little seahorse blinders to the naysayers and the people who don't always believe in our dreams. And remember, when you have a dream, that someone who says you can't do it or they doubt you in it, it's just because they don't believe they can achieve theirs. So don't take that on as your own dialogue or let it dismay you, because you are capable of great things. Look at all the people in the world who have done incredible things with the resources that they had, many times very small or few resources. And remember that there is a difference that one person, one soul can make on this planet. And even if it's just making someone smile today by saying something nice to them, that is moving a mountain, maybe, for that person. So follow your heart, listen to your heart. Don't listen to people who don't believe in your dreams. They just haven't achieved theirs, and that's okay. Maybe you can be an example for them.
Man, I love it. And she's dropping the essential ingredients. Pasha, we hadn't even done any of our stuff because you just had so much amazing stuff. And the listeners, my youngest daughter, Aaliyah, who reminds me a lot of you, she's vegan, big into the environment, just graduated from Sonoma State in environmental studies. And you guys have a lot of similarities in your spirit and everything else. She's the one that told me to reach out to you and see if there's a way you can help the listeners. And so Aaliyah told me, we'll see if Linden can donate one of her monofins to the listeners. And Linden, and again, you're just so genuine. You know, and authentic would be the two word, and full of love. I can't even end with just two, but full of love and joy. But we emailed back and forth, and she's like, Jeff, you know what? I'm all sold out, but here's what I would like to do. I would like to buy a listener a monofin from Amazon. And so you're not going to get it for free 99. So whoever will email me, jeff@c4leaders.org. And in your email, though, you have to share one thing that you're willing to do to take action to help our environment. And Linden gave so many amazing things to do. But email me, jeff@c4leaders.org, one thing that you're willing to do to take care of our environment. And we will get your information to Linden, and you will be the recipient of one of her monofins, which is like, oh my gosh. So with that, thank you so much for coming on the show. Man, my heart is just full of love, seeing your emotion, hearing about Lauren's wish, all the amazing work that you're doing. Congratulations on following your dream and continuing to dream. That's the cool thing. And the last thing, I guess, that I want you to hear from me, not that you need this validation, but I see in you someone who had a dream, took action toward making that dream their reality, but then is still dreaming.
I can and I won't stop.
And wow, that I'm getting goosebumps again from that. And so, Pashito, get us out of here.
I just got to say, I think the biggest compliment I can give you is I'm leaving here and I'm going to go tell everyone how I met a real mermaid today. So thank you very much, Linden.
Oh my goodness, I am honored to be here with you, gentlemen, and thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for sharing the work that others are doing, and truly being on your show today is just a pure joy. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all over the world, we're in 15 countries now, slowly getting the word out on life's essential ingredients and C4 leaders. But thank you for tuning in to another episode. Pashito, all we got to say is boom, that just happened. We'll see you next week. Thank you. All right.